Someone had asked a question earlier
Okay.
about why is athleticism so important rather than skill,
Okay.
and I'll say this, that I think that depends on the coach and the system. There are some coaches that skill is way more important to them because of how they're going to play offensively, and there are some coaches that athleticism is more important to them because of how they're going to play defensively. Okay, and then I guess every coach has a lean one way or the other, whether it's to the defensive side or the offensive side. There's no coach that's 50-50. It just doesn't happen like that. And but at the Power Five level, you got to have both athleticism and skill. Okay, or you have to be just a freaky size, 6'9", 7'5" wingspan, 40-inch vertical. You got to have some, be like a freak in some aspect that way. But if you're going to play at the Power Five level, you got to have athleticism, and you have to have, a high level of skill in one or two aspects of the game.
All right. Yeah, we got a lot of questions coming in. One person asked about what 2020 kids need to be doing. We kind of touched on that earlier. Either I can repeat, or Coach, you would add anything different, or
I just keep working, getting better every day. I see too many kids trying to figure out how to get recruited instead of trying to figure out how to get better. And every day you want to get up and get better and try and get 1% better, and over 100 days you'll be 100% better. And then the recruiters, the coaches, the university, they'll chase you. You won't have to chase them.
right. And for you guys that are seniors still looking, like Coach said, send out your highlight video, include a game tape link, keep it personal. And another thing, don't send, if you're not being recruited at all, don't send it to Coach Tang. He's already got a million emails. Just send it to get the D3s and the D2s after you. And then once those guys act like they've got to have you, then maybe you can reach out to the low D1s. And when the low D1s and mid D1s act like they've got to have you, then there's a chance. But also, sometimes fit is better than level. Fit is better than level. So you can look at Seth Curry. I can imagine if he would have. But anyways, I'm not gonna mention that. But yeah, it's just fit is always more important than level. And for you 2020 guys, just kind of keep on sending your video out. You're gonna have to kind of live on your resume because there's nothing you really can do right now. You have to live on your game tape. I know someone asked about if your high school coach doesn't have any game tape or film or something like that. But in reality, there's a school for everyone if you really want to play college basketball. And it may not. A lot of you guys are D1 and bust, and that shouldn't be the mindset. But just keep all options in mind, because if you want to play college basketball, there's definitely opportunity if you.
Well, hey Joe, can I? I saw that question about what happens if your coach or you don't have game film. I guarantee you, there's a coach in the league you played or a team you played against that taped, and if you call that person right now, everybody's willing to help you right now. Okay, and so that's why it's so important that you see the people, see yourself, and see the people that you're around as multidimensional. Because if you don't see that, then you're limiting yourself. I thought a friend of mine, Kevin Gall, gave an example the other day that if you're not multidimensional and you're just one-dimensional, 1 times anything is the number itself. So you want to be able to see that there are going to be people out there that can help you even when you're competing against them, and that's going to be real important. Somebody else just asked about, do you feel like many players get overlooked due to politics, like rankings? I'm just telling you, like, the rankings mean absolutely nothing to us. Okay, there's all we do with the list of the rankings is get names, right? Then we do the research on the kids, and every staff will tell you that they trust their eyes, and so we get names off of the rankings. And even the kid Mason Jones at Arkansas, honorable mention All-American this year. In the state of Texas, he was ranked 99th in the state of Texas coming out. Okay, but he's an All-American right now. Freddie Gillespie was on nobody's rankings. He went to a Division III school, and he was second team All Big 12 this year, and he's going to get drafted. All right, so those rankings, guys, don't get caught up. If you're caught up in that little number in front of you, the only time the rankings matter is, we used to say June 26th is going to be moved back now, but Torian Prince, who played for us, he was ranked 25th in our state, and he was the 12th pick in the NBA draft. That's the only ranking that really matters. And then that only matters on that day, and then you got to go and compete against grown men who've been in the NBA for a long time. So it's always a competition, right? It's always about you getting better. Nobody cares. Okay, they don't care about that number. And if you have a number in front of your name, all that is a bullseye on your back, because the guy without the number is trying to prove he's better than you. Okay, and so that's every day you got to get up and treat it like it's 0-0, and it's you're trying to go 1-0 that day. You're trying to win that day. And so that's don't get caught up. Parents, don't get caught up in that. Leave the ranking guys alone. Just be happy your kid's name is on the list, and then tell that young man, that young woman, to go out there and earn it and prove it every single day.
John Morant came through our camps every single year. Freshman, he was 5'5", thin as a rail. Sophomore, and we get some small college coaches to work at camps, and they rated him like D3, D2. Sophomore year, he was 5'10", thin as a rail. He had some skill, you can tell, but he's just small and tiny, could play a little bit. And then the same thing, college coaches rated him Division III, Division II. That next year, going into his senior year, which is 2 years prior to him being the number 2 NBA draft pick, 3 years prior to him, I'm going to go and call him the NBA Rookie of the Year because the year's done, and he's better than Zion Williamson. Same thing. We had even one of the coaches. But anyways, no, he came through the camp every year. And so in that last year, he came through camp, and same thing. We had even one of the coaches was actually a brother of a player that ended up being 5 spots later in the draft, and that coach rated him like a Division II, Division III player, and all the same thing. And then even the main recruiting guy in the country, I'm not going to name names because I don't want to do that, but the main recruiting guy in the country that everyone knows said he's not a Division I player. This is 2 years prior to him being the number 2 NBA draft pick, and 3 years prior to being the NBA Rookie of the Year. After the game, I went to talk to him, and I was just like, because he was in a game with Hunter Tyson at Clemson, J.P. Mormon, who's at Temple, and he was by far the best player in that game. And so I went and I talked to him afterwards, and I said, hey, what's going on with your recruitment? And he said, USC Upstate and Winthrop. And the way he said it was like he maybe got a letter in the mail or something like that. It wasn't even like real interest. And then of course that summer he blew up. But the point I'm trying to make is it's not like Coach said, it's not June 26th is what matters, and it's not where you start, because every year he said not a Division I player, not a Division I player, not a Division I player, and then finally he keeps working and working with his dad in the backyard, flipping tires, jumping in and out of tires, this and that, just he makes it, but he also has that. You want to have that 0.01% dream. He had that 0.01% work ethic. So I just wanted to mention that story, that everyone wants to have these great dreams, but he obviously, God blessed him with some size and athleticism, but I mean, he worked for a lot of athleticism. He wasn't doing that his freshman, sophomore year. By the time going into senior year, you could see it then. You could see a lot of it then, and then Murray State offered him that summer, a bunch of people. But there's just story after story after story like that. Never ranked, never anything. So don't worry about the rankings. That it's just like Coach says, the number gives you a bullseye. A lot of guys, it ruins their work ethic. So it's all about getting better every day. So.
And John made the right college decision, playing for a program that allowed him to play through mistakes and get better. And had he made another choice where he didn't get those opportunities, it might have delayed his development. So levels don't matter, opportunity matters.
Right, you had the right.
Saw one about a kid. What is you say to a kid who's losing interest because of a lack of interest from college coaches? Right now, I say to tell them to keep playing for the love of the game, because if they don't love the game and it's only about the interest from the outside that they're receiving, then they're never going to be what they're capable of being. There's got to be a drive on the inside. We tell our guys all the time we play for an audience of one, so it doesn't matter who is in the gym. We're playing because we want to honor God with our talents. And I think for kids right now, that's what they have to understand, is that the talent that God's given them, the size, the ability, it's not for the interest of others. It's to honor God with. And when you have that kind of drive and passion on the inside, I'm just telling you, the rest of it will fall into place.
What's more important, basketball IQ?
I have to turn my head sideways to read my wife was making fun of me. She said I kept turning my head on the thing. So if you'll just pick the questions for me, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Gabriel Casil, I can't say the name. What's more important, basketball IQ or athleticism / probably some include size in that question, I guess.
Okay, so I think for us, you got to have some of both, and so you have to understand that there are over 500,000 seniors across America, right, that are playing basketball, and only 4,000 or so, maybe a little bit more, are going to get a college scholarship. And I didn't say a Division I college scholarship. I said just a college scholarship. That the percentage is so small of people who get a chance. And so I'm sure you can double that when you take girls basketball into it, because I know there's some young ladies on here, and you think about just the opportunity. You're talking about 1 million kids playing this game, and only about 10,000 of them getting, the opportunity to play college basketball on a scholarship. So you have to have some of both. And if you lack it in one area, then you got to be special in the other. And just because, and there are kids out there that they're not going to get a college scholarship, but they might be better than somebody that did. And so if you're passionate, like when I got cut from the B team my freshman year in high school, right? I mean, if I didn't love the game of basketball, I would have just stopped playing. But I loved playing, so it didn't matter that I made the team or not. I kept playing the game, and so I was able to make the sophomore team. And then I kept playing the game, and even though that's where all the bad players were on the sophomore team, good players played JV or varsity, right? But I kept playing the game, and then I got to play JV basketball. And when I got cut my senior year in high school, if I didn't love the game, I would have stopped playing. But I got cut as a senior in high school and was the only guy on that team of the guys who did make it. Only one of them played college basketball other than me, and I got cut. So it's just about, do you really love the game? And if you love it, then you gotta want to try to be special in one area, but you gotta have some of the other areas too. I mean, like if you told me ask me what the most important skill is as a little kid, is you got to know how to dribble. I was talking about the kid who's losing interest because of just he doesn't feel like he's getting any real interest from college coaches, and just the fact that you got to do this because you love the game, not necessarily because of who's watching you. And so, not sure where I lost everybody at. I'd hate to go through. It says, what do college coaches want to see on girls basketball player highlight reel? Ooh, I don't know. I think I'd want to see them play. I mean, more game stuff. If when I get a videotape, I want to see games, and I want to see games against the best athletes that you can play against. Don't send a game where you're playing against the coach will look at the opponents and go, man, they suck. Send the video tape, send a game tape of you playing against the best team. And it doesn't matter if you played your best game that game, but if they can see you compete against the best team, and then they'll look at your stats and stuff, then they'll be like, okay, well, I know they can do this, and I can see that they're athletic enough or competitive enough to compete against the best. That makes sense?
Right.
Okay. How often, coach, do you look into prep school prospects? Look anywhere, like prep schools, high schools, junior college, transfers. Every coaching staff in America right now has a list of the best transfers, guys or girls who are transferring. They have a list of the best prep school, the best junior college, the best high school kids that they're recruiting, and they have them in no particular order. They just have those groupings, and so prep schools, real important. And most college teams are trying to get old, and stay old, and so prep schools do a really good job. There's some really good ones, and just like there's some really good junior colleges, so it's a good thing. Your opinion, Coach Tang, should these players be attending showcase camps? Well, nobody needs to go to camp right now. Stay home. That's what needs to happen, but camps are valuable.
A lot of times coaches want to, they're fine with kind of seeing them in 3 settings. You can get a lot of good information at camps, but you have the high school setting, the AAU travel setting, better competition usually depending on what circuit you're on, and then the camp setting too. So it's good if you can possibly get evals on all 3 settings.
What I like when we're allowed to go to camps, what I like to do is watch them in the individual instruction stuff, like to see how hard they go, because if they really attack the drills, I know they're going to continue to get better, because every kid has to get better, and the only way you get better is how do you approach the individual instructions. And that's real important for us, because we break ours down into 4 30-minute segments, and so we're 4 times a week we meet with our players in the off season, and we're going for 30 minutes, and we need them to be to really take the ball handling, take the finishing, the passing, the different things we do serious and really attack it. And the guys who really attack it, they get better, and the guys who don't, you see that their skill level doesn't improve at the rate that you would like to see it improve.
There was one thing I was going to ask you, Coach. When you're calling high school coaches, there was one thing I was going to ask you, Coach. When you're calling high school coaches, and I heard you talking about this last night about what do you ask about their work ethic? As far as how do you kind of bridge that when you're recruiting kids?
Well, the most high school coaches, AU coaches, junior college, whoever you call them, and you ask them, hey, is the kid a worker? They're all going to tell you, yeah, the kid works hard, right? And so the way we've kind of gotten a better answer out of that question is, before we ever ask about that kid, we ask the high school coach who are the 3 or 4 best workers they've ever coached. And so that's a question that's just in general. Hey, Coach, Joe, you've been doing this for many years at your camps. Who are the 3 or 4 kids that you said worked the hardest while they were at your camp? Right? So you're going to give me 3 or 4 names. And if the kid I'm asking about is not in those 3 or 4 names, then I know that the kid's really not the type, or really a worker, And so we're trying to figure out which kid really, really loves the game, and because we need them to get better when they get to our place, and to continue to get better every single day. And if they don't really, really love it, they don't really love being in the gym, they're not going to continue to get better.
One person asked how to find college coaching emails and how the emails should look. So every 99.9% of the college programs in the country has an athletic staff directory, and you can find nearly any college coach's email. But like we said, just kind of don't start emailing Baylor and Texas and Duke and Kentucky. It's just kind of get the lower schools, D2s, D3s, act like they've got to have you, and then you can kind of work your way up that way. And then
we're already done with our 2020 class.
Right.
And so we're moving into the 2021. Like we've been recruiting some of those kids for a couple of years now, and so like you said, you gotta like be really honest with yourself and have people around you who are willing to be honest with you to give you some guidance, because you'll be, running down the street and, it's like going to look for homes. You got to know what's your budget. What kind of loan are you going to qualify for? Because if you spend all your time looking for houses that are outside the loans you qualify for, then, you're going to miss out on a house that you could have bought. And so that's something about being real honest with yourself.
Coach, AAU or high school, what do you prefer recruiting, or is it just you like to have a mix of both?
Both. Like, cause like there's some kids like on their high school team, they're the man, right? So they get to do more things. They get to dribble, pass, shoot, play through mistakes. It's just everything is ran through them. And then they get on an AAU team that might have a bunch of dudes, and then they got to come off the bench. And so you get to see how do they handle coming off the bench, because when they come to college, they may have to come off the bench. Most likely they do, depending on the school. Or you get to see how they play with 4 other really good players. Do they know how to play? And so it's a lot of stuff that you learn from each one. When your coach, like in high school, when your coach really depends on you to win, how do you respond to his coaching? How do you respond to your teammates who you're more talented than? We want to see that. We want to see what you're going to act like when you're the man, and we're going to see, or the woman, or you want to see what you're going to act like when you're not. And so the evaluation of a kid is more than just a young person. It's more than just what they do on the basketball court or in any one game. It's like we put a lot of time into evaluating the whole process of it. And there's a ton of kids transferring right now because people didn't spend enough time evaluating, and then weren't honest with them in the recruiting process of how they fit into their program.
Younger players. I guess someone asked about 11 under, or what do younger players? I know we kind of talked about skill development is the main thing, but what should they be focusing on? Kind of younger kids. I'd probably say 9th grade on down to 10-year-olds.
Getting better every day. Just getting better. Like you're not there, and you have to keep getting better, because there's somebody out there right now who's not even playing basketball yet, that God just happened to bless them with some great athleticism and intangibles or measurables with length and stuff, and maybe they haven't even grown into that yet. And they're going to pick up the ball, and they're going to be further ahead of you just because of some God-given gifts. So if you're not working on improving yourself every day, then somebody eventually is going to catch and pass you. And so and do it because you love it. I mean, Joe, we used to go to the park and like have to make the free throw in order to pick the team, just so that we could play. And if you didn't make the free throw, then you had to sit on the side and wait 5 ups, because nobody was going to pick you up to get a game. And then if you got a game, you got to pick your team. You had to figure out picking a team that would help you win, and because you wanted to stay on the floor. And if you didn't win, you were done for the day. You might got to play 1 game that day, and so kids today, I don't think they're caught up in a lot of the wrong things. Just get caught up in loving the game of basketball and just really getting better at it and learning how to compete, and because that's what I mean. One characteristic there's a few, but one of the main characteristics we look for in the guys that we recruit, and I think all college coaches say that, is guys who just really compete. They're extremely competitive out there on the floor. They're not worried about being embarrassed. They're not worried about looking bad, because they just want to compete, and give themselves a chance to win, give their team a chance to win.
I think, like you said, I think you gotta love the game. It can't be about what basketball. It's like they love what basketball can do for them, the money, the women, all that stuff like that. You actually have to have a love for the game. So I think that's to really be successful long term.
What should people aspiring to be a college coach?
Someone asked on becoming a college coach. He said, should it be GA, the manager, or what should people aspiring to be a college coach? What do they need to be doing? I guess some kids are going to be college coaches.
No, that's awesome, and that's a great question. This is it's a incredible career and ministry opportunity to be a college coach. Billy Graham said a coach will impact more kids in a year than an old person that impacts in their lifetime. And so, what I've found at Baylor is that the best way that young men have been able to come through and go in, continue in the college coaching ranks is by coming through being a manager and then being a GA and then moving on. And we've got GAs, guys that were managers and GAs for us that are in the NBA now. We have who are in college coaching across the country. And we have, 3 guys on our staff that were GAs for us. And Coach Drew is really big about hiring them within. And those guys have gone other places and done work, and then we've hired them back. And so I would say, wherever you're at in college, go volunteer with your college basketball program. It doesn't matter if it's NAIA, Division I, whatever it is. You go to that coach and say, man, I want to volunteer. I want to work for you. However, I'd be a manager, do whatever. And then just be around. And the more you're around and the more faithful you are, the more responsibility they'll give you. And then you can, if you want to work on your master's, then find a program out there that allows their GAs not just to work, but find a coach that has a reputation of hiring from within. Because you just don't want to go be a GA for someone after your time is done. It's up to you to figure out where to go next. You want to work with a staff that's going to actively work to help you find your next job. And if you're faithful and you work hard and you're loyal, those coaches, man, they'll help you.
Exposure advice from Coach DR. We did a little small camp down in Key West actually in January. Had a few kids there. Took them over here to hear the gospel. He said exposure advice for high school kids that live in small towns. Your thoughts, just like Key West, Florida, because not many people go down there.
If you can play in some of the exposure events, that's gonna be helpful. I coached at a private school in Cleveland, Texas. Okay, so population 7,000, about 45 minutes north of Houston. And as the coach there, I knew that I had to help my guys get seen. So I volunteered with an AAU program to get them the opportunity to play on the AAU in that program to get them exposure. And so you do have to do so. We had Joe does some great things there with his camps in Texas. We had the Great American Shootouts that Mike Kunstadt and those guys did, and I would take my players to those events to help them get seen. But just because you're from a small town doesn't mean that you have to limit yourself, because Terry Teagle played in a small town in the state of Texas, and he ended up playing for the Lakers. He played at Baylor, but he put up huge numbers, and so that's why those game films are so important to have to send out. Because when you score 40 points in the game, you can score. Okay, and I'm just gonna let you in. It's important. There's a lot of dudes can sit in the gym for an hour and not score 40 points by themselves. So and especially if you're from a small town, all the other teams know who you are, so they game plan for you. And if you're still putting up big numbers on a small team, a small town team, it's still, you're doing it against defenses that are game planned to stop you. And that's why guys like John Morant and Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, Steph Curry, they were so successful it made them so special in college because you knew that every game was game planned to stop them. And so they had to like elevate their offensive skills in order to be able, because they face some defenses that other guys aren't facing at a higher level. So the small town thing doesn't stop you from getting seen or accomplishing the things you want to accomplish.
Ellie asked, finding a college basketball program with the same faith, faith-based platform. How to go about that the best way.
I do some research on the school and find out what the school's about, and because most of the presidents are going to hire athletic directors that meet the platform, the mission of the school, and most athletic directors will then hire coaches that meet the mission of the school, and then that's the first step. And then if you go to visit the schools, I'd ask the players. Players tell each other the truth. And don't just ask the guys, the players. If you're going and they're sticking you with a certain young lady because she plays a lot, she's happy with her playing time and her points and stuff, she's going to tell you all the good things. You want to find that girl who's on the end of the bench, that's trying to get some playing time, and find out how they treat her, and is what they're saying real. And so but you got to ask the players, because the players will tell you the truth.
Coach, tell me about your journey to Baylor. I know it's going to take a while, but I think it's kind of also go into with how to be a college coach too, because I think you weren't what's the word? You weren't your dad wasn't the Hall of Fame head coach or anything. You had to kind of work your way up the hosepipe or
everybody's journey is different, and I don't think if you try to like do the cookie cutter thing and say, okay, well, this worked for that guy, this is going to work for me, might not. I didn't have a cookie cutter, and I didn't have a timeline. I just loved the game of basketball, and I saw that if I opened a gym, there'd be 70 kids in the gym. I could have the greatest evangelist, youth minister in the world come by to my church, and I'd have 40 kids in the church. And so I figured out real quick that I could on the behind a pulpit. And so once I started doing that, God just being obedient, God opened doors that allowed me to have different platforms. And my dream, I wanted to coach in college. I can't tell you how soon that dream started stirring in me, but as I was going along the way, it's something that I said, man, I wouldn't mind doing, and I verbalized it to people that were like-minded with me and would pray about it with me. And then when Coach Drew got the job at Baylor, 3 people that knew me contacted him about me, and he told all of them that, hey, I already know who I'm going to hire, but I appreciate you mentioning this person. But like every time someone mentioned my name, it just kind of stirred a little more interest in him. And then God made the opportunity for us to be able to talk, and Coach asked me to come up and see him, and I really didn't want to, because I didn't have my degree and he didn't know me, and people don't hire people they don't know, and you don't get a college job without having a college degree. And I was still working on finishing it at the time, and but God opened those doors, man, and allowed me to be at Baylor and finish my degree, and now I'm here 17 years. So I'd say for each person you have your own journey, and that's why I said earlier with like the basketball players, if basketball is your life, then your shot, every time you shoot a free throw or a jump shot, that's a life or death shot. Those are difficult shots to take, but basketball, coaching basketball is what I do. It's not who I am. Who I am as a child of God, son of the King, and Then he made me allowed me to be a husband and a father, and those are the things that are most important. And then the opportunity to impact young men's lives through the game of basketball. And now I feel like my purpose is more to impact, other coaches and young married couples, and help in that area, as well as using this basketball platform. So that's kind of my journey. I think it's different for everyone, and you have to seek what is the path you want to take. You got to have a goal, you got to have a vision. God births those dreams inside of you, and you want to verbalize them. You want a vision board. And then you got to work. Just like the basketball players have to get up and get better every day, you got to work. And if you work at it, I believe the jobs will chase you. You won't have to chase the jobs.
What is it? Because
I think one thing that you guys have had success with is kind of smaller guards, right?
Yeah, coach likes small guards.
What is it? Because there's everyone, that's 90% of the population of basketball players are smaller guards. How are they so successful under you guys when so many Division I coaches kind of like, okay, you're under 6 foot, we're not going to recruit you?
Height doesn't matter to coach when it comes to guards. It's their ability to score and how dynamic they are. Like if you can beat somebody off the bounce and you can stretch the floor, coach will figure out a way to play you. And so we've had Pierre Jackson, Tweety Carter, Curtis Gerald, Henry Dugat. Just Kenny Cherry, Lester Medford, Manu LeConte, just on and on. We've had guards that were, some of those guys will tell you they were taller than 6 feet, but they're right there, but man, they were really dynamic with the basketball in their hands, and they constantly kept pressure on the defense, and then coach was able to put them on the floor and teach them how to be successful within what we wanted to do.
Someone asked about freshmen reaching out to college coaches. I have a couple things I can add, but do you have anything that for that? For those guys?
When I get an email from a freshman, it's good when they put what class they're in and who they are, their school, stuff like that. And I try to I look at it. I can't respond to it, and so that is.
If they ask you about like an elite camp or something like that, then you can respond. Is that correct? That's kind of what I.
Well, we can send camp information to them.
So they say, hey, Coach Tang, I want to go to your elite camp. Can you send me information? And hey, by the way, here's my highlight. Here's my game tape.
There we go. And so then we have a guy on staff that takes care of camp, and so I'll have him respond to the kid with the camp information. And we have like a form letter, and just our compliance is really a stickler on that we want to have everything pre-written, and they approve it, what we can send to them. And then if they give me a highlight tape, I'll take a look at it. I think we're the first ones to offer Carl Anthony Towns. His dad sent me a highlight film of him as an 8th grader, and I watched it and I was like, this can't be real. It just couldn't be real. And so I called some guys I knew up in that area, and I said, hey man, tell me about this kid. They said, no coach, that's him. And so then they were able to help me get in contact with his dad, and I went up and saw him, I think as a 9th grader at St. Joe's, and we offered him. And so sending the highlight tape, asking about camp, we can respond about camp. We can't respond about anything else. And that's that. Now, other schools may be a little bit more lenient in some areas there, the wording of stuff there. That's just what our compliance requires of us.
Right, yeah.
Right. The only mistake you made on that recruitment was you didn't get to coach him for the DR team. Is that correct?
Yeah. He went and played with the DR team, and I was coaching the U.S. Virgin Islands team.
Right, yeah.
So.
But and I think that's sophomore, like from June of your sophomore year before, you're not allowed to reach out to them. Is that correct?
Okay, yeah, June 15th after your sophomore year is when we can start corresponding with kids.
So for those guys, and like I said, don't reach out to these Division I guys unless you've got someone that like a major scout that knows what he's talking about. Not just there's a lot of Twitter scouts and stuff like that, and some of them are real good, but just make sure that you got your high school coach that sent players to the highest level, or AAU coach that's honest and not just telling you this and you keep paying the bill for the AAU team, but just make sure you're casting the net, where you're realistic instead of like just shooting out your highlights and game tapes and asking for elite camp footage to like major schools when you're when no one who's sent a lot of players to that level has said that you're definitely that level and they trust you. A lot of people asking what they should say in the email. I think we went over that. You want to go over that again?
Yeah, name, the year, your graduation year, a contact information, whether it's email, cell number, your high school coach, your AAU coach, or someone that we can contact, because we're allowed to contact coaches. We can't contact you. If your dad is your high school coach, you need to say that to us so that we know, because that helps, because we can call the high school coach, and if it's your dad, then we can approach him as your dad. That's just one of those NCAA tricky rules that so that helps. But
the same for AAU coaches too.
Yeah, same for AAU coaches, and just send us that information, and that helps. The highlight is not as important as game film. But if you're gonna send me a highlight tape, don't let the first thing be you shooting a free throw.
You gotta get the attention right away, right?
Yeah. Don't do that. Yeah, no, not you shooting a free throw. That's not gonna be good.
We talked unsigned seniors. Someone asked about that. You just gotta send out emails and your game footage and highlight tape and make it personal. And, get the lower levels on you. Then work your way up.
And one second, let me tell you, like, understand that everyone you come in contact with is like just a couple degrees of separation from everybody else. And so the way you treat the junior college coach, the way you treat the Division III, the Division II, the NAIA coach, it will reflect, because some of those guys are, I've got friends who they'll call me and say, look, I was recruiting this kid, but he's going to be way better and let me tell you about him. And if you don't treat those coaches well, if you're not respectful, if you're not courteous, if you don't return emails or phone calls because you think you're better than them, then you may be missing the opportunity of the connection, the divine appointment that God has for you to be able to connect with the level that you might want to play at. And so, we are all connected in this business, and so it's real important how you treat and the opposing coaches that you play against. It's very important that you treat them, because when I'm really researching, I'm finding out if the teams in your district, the coaches in your district, are they afraid to play against you? What do they do to stop you? Can they annoy you just by being physical with you and take you out your game? We're asking those kind of questions, and if those guys are not saying good things about you, we're not. There might be a coach in your league that's coached 10 dudes that played high major Division I basketball, and your coach might have only coached 2. And so his opinion might be more valuable than, even though you play for the coach you play for, and relationships. So everything is tied together. Understand that everything is tied together.
Another thing, when you're emailing college coaches, make sure you include your transcripts. You mentioned that, because college coach has to know that he's able to, especially if it's a high academic school, they got to make sure that they can actually get you into school before they kind of waste time watching highlight video to kind of pique the interest, and then the game tape link that you sent. So just make sure you include the transcript as well. A lot of people asking about NCSA. I don't really know a whole lot about it, so I can't speak too knowledgeable. I think they have like recruiting guys, and if the recruiting guys has a lot of relationships, it's kind of a relationship business, and they can help you, then yeah, it will. But if you've got a recruiting guy helping you out that doesn't really know anybody, maybe they're just taking your money. But I mean, it's kind of, I guess, the proof is in what actually, if they actually help you or they don't. Maybe for some people it works, but other people it doesn't. So just and you gotta be able to play. You can't. That's good.
That's the key. Don't spend so much time on being recruited as on getting better.
Yeah. Have you heard anything about if they're gonna like relax the rules on SAT, ACT for guys graduate this year?
They are talking about it right now. They haven't made a decision, but I could see there being because a lot of kids aren't going to be able to take the SAT, ACT, the last ones that are being offered, and so I could see there being some relaxation of certain things. I just don't know exactly what yet, but it is being talked about.
Changing a kid that goes to 4 different high schools in 4 years.
That's not a good thing. It's just not. And I understand there are some reasons why. Like I have a kid that played for me on my Virgin Islands team, and there was a reason why he had to transfer multiple schools because of his parents' jobs and some things like that. And so there's got to be a great explanation, but for the most part, it's a sign that kid, and I haven't done the research on it, and this might be a good senior thesis paper for some guy in college right now who's got to do something for maybe a master's or a doctorate. But how does a kid who had went to multiple high schools and then went to college, what are the percentages of their transferring also in college? And I just from my eyes and not from doing the analytics or the numbers on it, I'm gonna say there's a high probability that if you went to multiple high schools, that you're gonna end up in multiple colleges. And we approach it that way. We're trying to find guys who are more stable, who are willing to fight through some adversity.
Yeah, so the legend Bobby Sibley, we've had some big time players when we used to do camps in New Orleans. Brought to camp. He asked your favorite moment at Baylor.
Okay, so in 2010 we made the NCAA tournament and we played in New Orleans, and Tweety Carter and Lacedarius Dunn got to go back home to play. And the first round we played Sam Houston State, and they played a triangle and 2 against us. And I mean, who does that in college? But they did, and we ended up winning the game. It was a close game, and we ended up winning the game. And then in the second round we played Old Dominion, and we beat Old Dominion, and it was a great game. They had a couple of really good guys. One dude's still in the league, Blaisdell. I'm saying his name wrong, but it was a heck of a game. We won, and then Tweety's mom and their church cooked for us after the game. So we went down to their church in Laplace, and they had turkey necks and crawfish and sweet corn, and it was unbelievable. So the whole team and all of our families, we went down there and just had a feast, and it was wonderful. That was one of the most special things I'll remember about being here at Baylor. And why is Jared Butler asking about small? I see here to talk about small guards under 6 feet, and Jared Butler's on here. And so, well, you talk about a guy. You talk about a young man who has honored God with his life and his talent. Oh man, he's such an impressive young man. I mean, we are so blessed, and he's got this great ability to have an adult conversation with you with a smile on his face, and it's just one of those maturity That's just awesome. But he's terrific. But yeah, no, that was a Bobby. That was a great experience. And then we went and we played St. Mary's in the Sweet 16, and we smacked them. And it was like 40,000 Baylor fans in Houston. You know, it was just one of those terrific things. And so that was great. And the thing that rivals that was what we were able to do this year, and not because of the accomplishment on the basketball court as much as how great those young men were together, led by Jared and Davion Mitchell, Basil Teague, and Mark Vidal. Whenever we have dudes from Louisiana, we call them the Louisianimals, and so you know that's we have some Louisianimals this year, and it was to go along with everybody else, and so it was a lot of fun.
That was two places I always loved doing camps. That was New Orleans and Miami. We haven't done them either in the last couple of years, but it's kind of the same type of athletes it seems like, and kids, kind of under the radar too.
Yeah, if I lived in New Orleans, I would weigh 300 pounds. I'm just telling you, the food is so good. Coach Drew and we argue all the time about who's going to go to Louisiana to recruit.
What's your favorite restaurant in Waco?
Ooh, well, cafe, the cafe grill Tang in the backyard. That's probably my favorite because I fancy myself a cook somewhat, and so that's my favorite. But probably my second favorite for breakfast. I'm a big breakfast guy. I like to go to George's, and they have those fluffy pancakes, man. You can't. It's hard to beat them.
Someone asked about additional live period. You have a lot more information on this. I've heard that maybe they're going to add September or something like that.
Yeah, I have no idea. The only thing I know is that we are trying to get everybody to stay home and follow social distancing and you know that so that you know we could get July. That's what I know for right now.
Another person asked about highlight videos. I know we touched on this a few times. It's kind of a big topic, but like you said, Coach, you want to put probably I don't know if you want to do it from like 25 different games. Maybe you could pick 3 or 4 games of your best games, and then start it off with probably 4 or 5 wow plays, and then just kind of let it go. So like you said, you got to get the inches right in 15, 20 seconds. Otherwise.
Yeah, hey, you know what's crazy is like people will send you a highlight tape, and it'll be over their whole season, and it's
right.
Like, you know, but like you can always tell if it's like if the highlight is like 2 clips against one team, and then 2 clips against another team, and then 2 clips against another team, that means you like a 4-point-a-game score. You know, you only got. But like if I see a highlight tape and it's like 10 highlights against this one team, and then the next one is like 8 highlights against another team, like, okay, this dude was doing some work, you know? I mean, that's kind of like the little things that I pick up on that spark me to want to like dig a little bit more.
One other thing. You mentioned how Jared Butler is always smiling.
Uh-huh.
Is that I heard you say something about that's actually a thing you look for in a recruit.
Yes. We look for kids who smile, man. And I never realized, I have to give the credit to John Jacobs, one of our assistants. And that's something like, you know, you talk about like, you want guys that play with energy or guys who bring energy to the gym. And like, so what does that look like? And he made it so simple. He was like, man, we just need some guys who smile. You know, and when he made it that simple, so it like became something real important to me. I'd go out, I'm looking for dudes who smile, and because like smiling is contagious. If one guy smiles, the next guy smiles. If you walk in the gym, you got a bunch of dudes who are frowning. Oh my goodness, it's just regardless of how good they are, it's not a joy to be there. And so if we're gonna play with joy, we better have a smile on our face. And Jared does that. He makes other people smile.
we probably haven't touched enough on this, but grades. I know you can probably get in guys that are qualifiers, but for 99% of the kids in the country, how important are having the highest grades as possible?
Well, this is the thing, right? Each kid needs to ask themselves, if they are starting a business, right? This is their business, and they're going to hire some employees. Are they going to hire the person with the 2.6 GPA or the person with the 3.6 GPA? And every one of them is going to say, well, I'm going to hire the one with the 3.6. Why? Well, not necessarily because they're smarter, it just means that they worked harder to get the grades. And if your business is going to be successful, you need to have hard workers in it. And so GPA is it's less about your intelligence as it is about your work ethic. And so that's what we're looking for, guys with great work ethic. And I mean, I remember Brad Davis said this about his Butler teams. The two teams that went to the Final Four had the highest team GPAs of any teams he's ever had. And there's a direct correlation. Like our team this year, we broke our fall semester GPA record. And we were on track in the spring semester to have the highest spring semester GPA. Now with online schooling and things changing and stuff, it's going to change up some things. But I mean, when we talk to our academic advisor every week at our care meetings, she's constantly telling us what a great job our guys are doing. And because we find if you take care of business off the court, you'll take care of business on the court. There's a direct correlation.
Coach, so let's say you got two players. One has a 2.3 and it's just a shade better than a player that has a 3.5. Are you taking the better player, or are you taking the kid that's just a little bit not quite as good as that kid that has a lower GPA and SAT but a little bit better game?
If it's close, I'm taking the better person. And that'll encompass a lot of things, not just the grade point average. We find like our guys do better at Baylor than they did as high school students because of the resources that we have. So if you're a good person, and that's the thing that boils down, like the little things that separate you as a person.
If you have 2 to 4 things that you look for in a player, what would they be? Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, however.
I want fast guys who can shoot, who are extremely competitive and smile a lot. And I think I said this when we got everything froze up, but like if you're just starting to play the game of basketball, right? The first thing you want to learn to do is dribble, because if you can dribble, you're going to get to play, right? The second skill that you want to have is shooting, and be able to shoot, because if you can shoot, all coaches will find a way to put a shooter on the court. Okay, and so dribbling and shooting, those two things, and then you try to add things to that. But I only got picked to play because I could dribble and pass and play defense. Okay, so they knew I was going to play defense, and all the good players knew I would throw them the ball. And so that's how I got on the court. So you got to figure out a way to get on the court before you can do anything else. There's only 2 positions, on the bench or on the floor.
Right. Do you want to wrap it up? Anything else you want to say, Jesse?
Yeah, hey man, this has been awesome. Jesse, that was a great word about the blood that has the enzymes in it to combat the virus. That's what Jesus gives us, the enzymes to combat sin, and that was so powerful. That was so wonderful. Thank you. This has been a great thing. I hope we can figure out a great way to follow up with these young people that made a decision today to follow Jesus. And God's not looking for perfect; He's looking for faithful. And so, Joe, I appreciate your faithfulness, man, to what you do, and thank you for this opportunity. And all the coaches out there and the players out there, stay home. All right. Like let's stay away and do what we need to do so that we could all, see each other in July. All right. Thanks a lot, fellas.
No, thank you so much. It's been really appreciate everything you've done.
Thank you, Coach.
Very thankful, and Zach and Hannah, if you guys are still on, y'all were awesome. Thank you for bringing your crew with us. So thank you, Coach.
All right, buddy.